Greetings everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Vorm, and today I'm going to be teaching and playing Under Falling Skies by Czech Games Edition. This is a very cool solo board game representing an alien invasion of Earth and your attempts to stop it. Let's go ahead and check the back of the box for some more detail. Under falling skies, aliens have arrived to conquer Earth. Enemy ships fill the skies. Humanity retreats to underground bunkers across the globe, hoping to develop a weapon that will stop the invaders. Buy yourself time by shooting down enemy ships. Dig your base deeper to expand your capabilities. In this dedicated solo game, every action you take moves the enemy ships closer to the city you are trying to defend. Higher die rolls give you more powerful actions, but also make the ships descend faster. Use your rerolls wisely, and you might just be able to save your planet. So first thing I'd like to note is that the board as set up normally is one tall continuous piece with the mothership in space at the top. It's going to descend through space into the skies towards the city you're defending and then the underground base. That's hard to represent on screen, so what I've done is I have divided the board into two sections. We have the left section, which is the upper section. That would normally be up above the right section. So lower and then upper. In addition, I'd like to point out that we're going to be playing the introductory scenario that just uses the basic standard components that you start with here. But there is an additional extended campaign play system included in the box that I have not yet done myself. But I know that, for example, you're limited to 3 city tiles to choose from on which you'd like to defend in a playthrough, but the campaign has 14 more cities that will unlock, and I believe you're able to take those cities and kind of add them into the standard game if you just want a one-off game experience. So, a lot of interesting flexibility there and variability, which is very enjoyable. I have not yet done the campaign myself. If you're interested in seeing that, then just let me know via the comments down below, and we'll see if we can get that worked into the schedule. Okay, I'm going to be dividing this video up into a few sections. This is the intro section. Next, we're going to go to an overview of the gameplay and the board elements that you see on the table right here. And then I'll follow that up with a breakdown of each of the 3 phases of gameplay that represents a turn. And then we'll follow that with an actual playthrough of the game itself, where I'll go through an entire playthrough of the introductory scenario, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty details of how things work while we're doing that playthrough. So let's go ahead and move on over to the overview section. Okay, let's give a brief overview of the gameplay elements you see on the table. So there is an alien mothership represented here that's going to be descending through space and down through the skies towards our base. Our goal is to stop that mothership and to achieve enough technology to defeat the aliens. So the way we do that is this technology track listed here on the left side of the board. We start down here at the bottom and we work our way up the track until we get to this final space. If we can purchase this level 11 or point cost 11 technology, we win the game. That's our only win condition. We lose the game in one of 2 ways. If either the mothership drops all the way to the bottom row to where this red skull is, we lose. Or as the fighter craft race down the columns, any that reach the city of Roswell will inflict a point of damage to our base, tracked on this little bar here. If enough damage occurs that our little indicator hits that red skull, we also lose. So, red skull, lose. Green technology 11, we win. Very simple. During gameplay, we're going to be rolling dice. We're going to be placing those dice into the various rooms in our underground facility. That's going to have one of several effects, and there's color coding that's used to kind of link the different board elements. So at the top, we have anti-aircraft guns across this whole row, and it has a little -1 symbol here. What that indicates is if you place a die there, when the ships move in that column, they'll move 1 less space. So it slows down the movement speed of the enemy fighter craft. Then we have 3 different colors in our main lab facility. We have green, which matches the colors on the left for our technology track. This is a room that is going to generate research points that we can then use to purchase our way up this track. We have yellow spaces that matches our energy track shown here. We start at 2 energy, and it's going to move up to a maximum of 7 or down to 0. And by putting dice into the yellow rooms, we increase our energy availability. And the orange and green rooms require power in most cases that we'll have to pay. So this track will move up and down based on the energy we generate and the energy we consume. And then there's orange spaces, which represent the fighter aircraft in our base. And that gives us an opportunity to destroy any enemy fighter ships that are on these orange destruction spaces. So a big part of the gameplay strategy is through your dice rolls and through your dice placement, you can manipulate where the enemy fighters are going to end up on the board, and you're going to try to maneuver them onto these explosion spaces, then put dice onto these fighter jet spaces, which generates attack power. When you activate that space, whatever your attack power value is, any enemy ship that occupies an explosion space of equal or lower value is going to be killed and exploded. They get destroyed and returned to the mothership. So, during play, fighter jets or alien fighters are going to race towards the base. The mothership is going to be dropping continuously. You're going to be rolling dice, placing dice, activating dice in a mad scramble to try to stave off the alien invasion, to allow you enough time to activate research rooms with enough value to purchase your way up to the top of the column. That's it in a nutshell. That's the basic overview of the gameplay. Now let's go ahead and get into the individual phases, starting with phase 1, the dice phase. Each turn in Under the Falling Skies is divided into 3 separate phases. The first is the dice phase, in which we're going to roll the dice, and then we're going to place each die into rooms in our underground facility. In the second phase, the rooms phase, we're going to remove the dice that we placed, and we're going to activate the ability of the room they were placed in. And then finally, we have a mothership phase. The mothership's going to move down. Any fighters that were placed back into the mothership will get reset into their launch positions, and will activate any abilities associated with the row that the mothership moved into. So in the dice phase, you're going to first roll all 5 dice. And there's an important distinction between these 2 colors. We have 3 gray dice, and we have 2 white dice. The rule is that if you place a white die onto your board, you immediately re-roll all the remaining dice. So if I chose to place this here into the research room, I would immediately re-roll everything left. I could then place further dice. Gray dice are no problem, but the instant I place the next white die, I would re-roll again. So very simple. Place a white die, re-roll anything left over, and continue. Next, there are 5 dice, and there are 5 columns to our board. You're only allowed to place 1 die per column. So if I did place that die here in the second column, that column is now locked. I am not allowed to place any other dice anywhere in this column. This is a hard rule. There are no exceptions. So at the end of your dice rolling and placing round, you should have 1 die in each of the 5 columns. Next up, there is an excavator on the board here. One of the goals of the game is to make that excavator move forward along its track so that you can unlock all of these lower rooms. If you notice the symbology and the payment symbols and so on, the lower rooms are better. They're more efficient at providing their bonuses than the upper rooms. So you want to move this excavator along the track as quickly as possible to unlock access to these lower rooms. Normally, when you're placing dice, you are restricted to placing them behind the excavator's current position. So at the start, with the excavator here, I'd only have access to these first 2 rows that I could place my dice into. The one exception to that is once per dice phase, you can place a single die ahead of the excavator's position. And this represents your moving the excavator to the new location. So you would pick a die. Whatever value is on the die is how far forward of its current position you could move the excavator. So if I use this 5, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would place the die there. Assuming I haven't placed any other dice previously in that column, which would lock it out, I do still have to obey the 1 per column rule. And then during the rooms phase, we would advance our excavator to that new position. And that's how you are allowed to move it. So 1 die per dice phase can be placed ahead of the excavator to facilitate its movement deeper into the underground rooms. Okay, so roll the dice, re-roll the whites. After you place a white die, excavator limitation. Next thing to talk about. These gray dice here, or these gray locations, are anti-aircraft. They have a little alien fighter symbol with a -1 at the top. When you place die in these locations, what it's indicating is that any fighters that are moving in that column move at 1 less than the die value shown. What I mean by this is, as soon as you place a die down, the consequence to that placement is that any fighters in the same column are immediately going to move down the stated number of spaces, unless it's an anti-aircraft space, in which case it'll move 1 less than what the die shows. So let's say I place the 5 here on the research room. The second column, this ship would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there are a couple of symbols on the space and air boards that we have to pay attention to. Arrows indicate that you move the spaceship over in the direction of the arrow, 1 column. If that column happens to be already occupied, just ignore the movement. They don't actually do anything. But if that was an empty space, that ship would then move to that new location. This symbol is the mothership symbol. So if a fighter ends its movement on a mothership symbol, you immediately move the entire mothership down 1 row. And then finally, we have these explosion symbols. If the ship ends on an explosion symbol, nothing immediately happens. That's an opportunity during your rooms phase for you to activate fighter attacks. And we'll talk about that in the next phase, but it doesn't do anything immediately. But it is a good thing to try to maneuver these ships onto these explosion symbols. They give you an opportunity to destroy those ships during the next phase. All right, so roll the dice, place the dice. If a white die is rolled, you re-roll. You have to place behind the excavator, except for the 1 die you can use to move the excavator. We've got the anti-aircraft that slows down the fighter movement, and then we have the different symbols that the fighters land on. You're going to combine all of these factors to try to determine a strategy of dice usage that gives you the maximum advantage in your room abilities, minimizing the movement of the enemy fighters and trying to get them onto positions of vulnerability, which are these explosion symbols. Generally, it's a very bad idea to let them land on these mothership symbols because you have a very limited amount of time. That mothership is always going to move down 1 row per turn, period. There's no way to stop it. There's no way to move the mothership back up again. It will march downwards 1 per turn, guaranteed. So landing on these and advancing that even quicker is usually a bad idea, but there are some strategy reasons why you might do it based on these special events over here that we'll talk about in the mothership phase. But just realize there's a lot of thinking and pondering and analysis paralysis in this round. This is where you're going to spend the bulk of your gameplay, is looking at the dice, figuring out the movement of the ships that are going to result from your placement of the dice, trying to find the best combination via what you have rolled with gaining abilities out of your rooms, and then making these fighters susceptible to being exploded versus their movement. So a lot of things going on here, and that's where the really crunchy details roll in. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the rooms phase. In the rooms phase, we're going to be activating and then resolving the dice that you placed in various rooms in your underground base. You can do this in any order that you'd like. Just pick a die, set it aside, and then choose to activate the room for its value. Now, there's a couple of things I need to mention. When you're looking at the room information, the symbology on the board, This room, for example, has two lightning bolt symbols. These are electrical symbols, meaning in order to activate that research room and gain the 5 research points, I would need to spend 2 of my available power. If you see a number at the bottom of a room, that means to modify the die value by that amount, and that is going to be how much is actually activated for. So in this case, we have a yellow room. This is an electricity generation room. We rolled a total of 4. You add up the dice if you have a multi-space room. And then we would subtract 3. So unfortunately, in this circumstance, I would only generate 1 unit of energy when I chose to activate that room. So we have symbols, electrical symbols that we have to pay in order to use a room. And then we have modifier numbers that either raise or lower the value of the dice that we're going to be activating. And then finally, multi-space rooms themselves. So we have this example of 2 electrical generation rooms. There's also a double fighter, a double research, and then finally, way down here, a triple research. You're only allowed to activate a room for its effect if you have a die placed in every single position of a multi-room space. So if I only placed a single die in this example, in this room, this would be useless. I would just remove it and there'd be no effect. I'm not allowed to activate that room for its power generating ability. So you must put a die into every space of a multi-space room in order to activate it for its ability. Okay, let's talk about the rooms themselves. So we have the anti-aircraft space. During this phase, the rooms phase, this has no effect. You already use the effect of this during the ship movement in the dice placement phase. So you can just pull these off immediately and set them aside. In the case of the excavator, in order to move the excavator, you both have to have placed a die ahead of the excavator's position in a valid location, and the excavator requires energy to operate. So you would have to spend 1 electricity, and then you would be able to move the excavator forward to the position of the die that you placed in the earlier phase. And we could go ahead and remove that die from the table as well. The remaining rooms, there are 3. We have our fighters, we have red or green rooms for our research generation, and then yellow rooms for energy. Pick whichever order you'd like to resolve them in. In this case, I'm going to do the energy first. So I have 4 on my dice, but it's a -3 effect. So I only gain 1 energy generation and I'm back to 2. Then I finally, as my last die, have a research room. I have to pay 2 energy, 1, 2, and then I get to generate 5 points of research. Now, an important thing to note here is you have to resolve the effect of a room independent of any of the other rooms. What I mean by that is I got 5 points of research I can spend right now. So 3 points, 4 points. I don't have enough to pay for this next one. I lose any remaining points. So I would stop right there with my 5 points. I could only spend 4 of them. Now, in a future circumstance, if, for example, I had research in 2 different rooms, this one and this one, I have to resolve this one entirely first via the track. And then let's say I generated another 5 points here. I do this 5 first, then I have another 5. I could say 3, 4, and again, I would be stopped right there. I would not say, okay, I have a total of 10 and then start purchasing on the track, because that can have different results than if you pay for them independently. So just make sure that when you're resolving rooms, particularly the research rooms, that you only do 1 room at a time. So generate the research, spend the points, then do the next one, spend the points, and so on. Don't just combine them all into one bulk value. All right, so that talks about the research, that talks about the energy. That's fairly straightforward. Let's move on to the fighters. So I didn't in this example have any fighter jets activity, but let's say, for example, I had a 5 in this fighter jet space here. I would have to pay 1 electricity out of my available pool in order to activate it. And it has a -1 modifier, so that means that if I placed a die with a value of 5, for the attack portion I'm about to do, that would be modified to a 4. Now, this does not have any effect on movement or anything else. It's only going to affect my die roll to attack these enemy craft. So what I would do is I would say I'm activating this. 5 value, -1 is 4, pay my energy. I would then look at the board for any fighters, enemy fighter craft that are on spaces that have a value of 4 or less. Every single fighter on the board on such a space would immediately be destroyed and returned to the mothership. This is where it's very critical to plan out your turn in such a way that you maneuver these ships onto these explosion symbols as often as possible. Because if we had that arrangement, for example, and we had our 4 attack value for that fighter craft, all 4 of these would be wiped out and would be sent back to the mothership, and they would redeploy at the end of the phase, the mothership phase. So that's the different positions on the board, and that's basically how you do the rooms phase. You just pick one of the rooms and the dice associated with it, pay any costs in energy that might be needed, adjust the dice by the values shown on the bottom, and then resolve the effects, whether it's gaining energy, gaining technology, or attacking fighters on the board. Once you've picked up all your dice and resolved all the rooms, we then move on to the mothership phase. The final phase of the turn is the mothership phase. The first thing that happens in the mothership phase is we're going to move the mothership down 1 row on the board. If you happen to bump into any fighters on that row, for example, you would pick them up and put them on the top section of the mothership. This top section, the darker section, is basically a new deployment area, with the lower section having these 5 drop points. Next, we're going to activate any abilities associated with that row. In this case, we have a white fighter. That's what these are for, and that would just add another fighter to the deployment area. You can never have more than 4 in the deployment area. If you should be asked to add another one, just ignore it. Then we have the excavator symbol with a number, -2 in this case. That just means to back the excavator up the listed number of spaces from its current position. Don't go further back than the starting point for the excavator, though. And finally, we have a technology track indicator. That just means to lower the technology marker that number of spaces. And it's regardless of what the cost is. So if we happen to be on the number 6 space here that we had just purchased, we would just move that down 1 space, and we'd have to reacquire that in a future turn. And then finally, we're going to redeploy any fighters that are in the top section of the mothership. So during the course of play, we're going to have opportunities to destroy fighters, or they'll have moved all the way down, bombed our base, and then returned to the mothership deployment area. So in the case of these white fighters, if they're destroyed by our attacking fighter jets, they're actually removed from play. Don't put them back on the mothership board. They can be added back in via future occasions of that symbol, but they go back to the out-of-game pile until that happens. In the case of the red ships, when they're destroyed, they just immediately go back up into the redeployment area. So during this redeployment phase, if we set up an example here, let's say we had this arrangement right here. So we have 3 ships still on the board. We have 3 ships that have redeployed either because they were destroyed or they successfully bombed the city and then flew back again. The rules for redeployment are, first, you want to look at columns that have no ships. And what we're trying to do is we're filling these 5 deployment points, these drop points. So first up, any empty columns. You always place red ships before you place white ships. And the first category is an empty column. So we have 2 empty columns. We push those to those 2 positions. So now we have a red ship in each of the 5 columns. The next thing that we look for is distance to the farthest ship. So in this case, we've got 3 drop points remaining with a white ship to deploy. This ship is the farthest away, so the ship would go into that position. If there were a tie, if these ships were an equidistant, I could pick either or. I could take my choice of either position. But otherwise, you always deploy in the column that has the ship furthest from the drop point. That's pretty much it. You just fill up the 5 positions. If you still have ships left over, just leave them in the deployment because you only have 5 drop points per turn. That's all. That's it for the mothership phase. You just move it down a space, a row, you activate an ability, and then you redeploy any ships in the deployment area of the mothership. Phase is complete, turn is complete, and then we just keep cycling through this turn sequence. Each time we do a dice phase, we do a rooms phase, and we do a mothership phase. This continues until either we achieve victory by getting to the number 11 technology here and purchasing that, or by the mothership reaching this point we lose, or the damage of the base reaching this point we lose. That's the rules in a nutshell. There are some other rules for a little bit more advanced play that we'll kind of do a recap talk about after we do a playthrough. So for now, let's go ahead and play a game. Okay, let's get down to the serious business of saving humanity from an alien invasion and have some fun while doing it. So, a couple things I'd like to mention before I start rolling dice. The excavator movement is one of the most critical things in the gameplay. So getting that push forward as quickly as possible is very powerful. But the game state when you start, I want to point out. So the excavator here, normally when I roll, if I get a 5 or 6, great. Hey, I'm going to move my excavator forward 5 or 6. But here are the consequences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put you in the second column. That ship will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, causing the mothership to drop, which is generally a bad thing. If we instead use a die that says 5, we go to this space, which is the first column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, mothership's going to drop. So these two positions mean that the excavator on a 5 or 6 are going to have bad effects. So generally my preference is I hope to roll a 4, put me in this space. That puts that ship 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't actually use this to blow him up because it's in the same column as our only fighter ship for the round. But we got opportunities a little later to try to get rid of that ship. So my preference, get a 4, get the excavator moved to here, and then deal with everything else. I don't generally try to blow any ships up in the first round. I try to use this cluster here in the second or third round to destroy as many ships as I can that have advanced. So that's kind of the path we're going to go for in this particular run. In addition, I wanted to point out kind of a secondary consequence of the mothership moving down if you were to choose to do this. And there are times where you might want the mothership to advance one, specifically if you're wanting to avoid this thing where the excavator moves back 2 spaces, or possibly a technology drop. If you're about to drop out of a pretty expensive category, it might be worth pushing a ship onto one of these spaces to advance the mothership. The special abilities to the right only activate during the mothership phase. When it moves down a space, you activate and then you redeploy. That's the only time these activate. So during this part, the dice rolling and placement, you can move the mothership without the consequence of these actions. But the mothership moving down has a compounding negative effect. Not only are you getting closer to the end game condition if the mothership reaches this last point, but it's also bringing the launch point for the fighters that redeploy closer and closer to the city. So as that mothership gets lower and lower, the distance they have to travel to get here gets shorter and shorter, and you start having kind of a compounding problem keeping this hit point bar for your base from getting to the bottom. So just be aware of that. That's why I stress you really want to think hard about any of the ships getting onto these mothership spaces. All right, let's roll some dice and have some fun. First, the dice phase. We got a 4, so I'm going to set that aside. That's going to cause a re-roll, but I got to think through, do I want to use these other dice? We're not going to use that because I need to use that, and that will force a re-roll, so I can't use that first. So that we're going to set aside. Do I want to use these before I place that? So 2, 3, and 5. So we know we're going to put a 4 in the first column. That'll move that guy to there. That'll get our excavator moved forward a decent amount this round. So we're not planning on killing any enemies this round. I would like to generate research. So if I go research in the second column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not great. Another 4 would have been better because all I need is 4 points. I can't purchase that next one anyway. So I would prefer a second 4 to throw into this column. Or I need to get this one to move first and then do this column. So I could still do that. The reason I mention this is if I place the 5 right now, this is going to move down and then shift over. And then when I place a die in the third column, it's going to move again further down. So it's going to get a big jump. So I'd like to avoid that. I can avoid it if I just combine the other dice. So if we go with the 3, I could either put it here. Well, that'd be my only real choice. Then he would move 2, and then he would also shift over. We go with the 2 in that space. It'd be a 1, and he'd only move to there. So let's say we do that. Let's say we do 2 here, which means 1 movement because it's 2 minus 1 for the anti-aircraft row. So he would move to there. And we'll go ahead and do our 5 on the research space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he'll shift over, but now we won't get that double move. And with that being a 2, a low number here, he wouldn't have moved much anyway, so it's kind of a wash, I guess. But I didn't have much else I could do in that column anyway. We're restricted to the first 2 rows for this first round, because we can only place behind our excavator position, with the exception of the 1 die. Go ahead and get that placed here. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That leaves us these 2. Ideally, I'd like power, and 8 power minus 3 would be 5. We're going to burn 2 for the research, but that would take us up to 7 and then back to 5. So we'd have 5 to start the next round. I could go place the 5 and then re-roll that, hoping for a higher number, so we get more power stacked up. I would love to have max 7 power at the start of next turn, meaning I burn the 2 energy for the research to go to 0, and then I have at least a 10 here that would then be minus 3, 7 to have a max bar for the start of the next round. But I think I might do that. So which column do we want the 5 in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hope to blow him up here. I think we'll do that. So we'll go 5 in the last column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to re-roll this one. We're going to hope for a bigger number. If it's less, fine. If it's bigger, that's what we prefer. 2. So not better. 1, 2. Okay, dice phase is complete. Let's go to the rooms phase. There's no effect for the anti-aircraft row in the rooms phase, so we'll pull that. Then we're going to go ahead and do our 5 points of research for the 2 costs. So that zeroes out our energy. We get 5 points of research. We're going to spend 4 to get to there. And then we don't have enough to purchase the next point or the next position on the track, so we just lose the extra points. Then we'll go ahead and do our energy generation. So we've got 7 minus 3 is 4. Not nearly as much as I hoped. That's not really... I'm really unhappy we didn't get a higher number on that reroll. All right, this is going to move forward. And we pay an energy to do that. All right, and that's it for the rooms phase. So we've got our excavator advanced to what I consider the okay position for the first round. I didn't end with as much power as I hoped. We got a couple of spaces on our technology track. So let's go to the mothership phase. First thing that happens, mothership moves down a row, scoops that up into the deployment area. We activate the ability, add a white fighter. Then we deploy the ships. You always deploy red ships first into empty columns. Then you deploy into farthest away from the deployment points. So we've got 2 positions that are equal. I'm going to choose this one. And then we're done. So mothership phase is complete. Let's roll some more dice for turn 2. I would love a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would love a 6. Let's push this thing forward. Well, we got my 6, which would force a re-roll if I don't use these dice in other ways first. So if we set that aside, intending to use it for the excavator, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So can I combine blowing up fighters with that move? That would be awesome if we can do that. And it is the round where I want to blow stuff up. Problem is I've got a 6 for that function, but then I'm going to need to use these two spaces to be able to have enough fighter power to blow that up. So we do that, and then I allocated 7 would be the minimum, or I could do, so I'd have to allocate those first, then do that, and then re-roll these if I can do that route. So what would be the consequence there? So 1, 2, 3 would result in that one dying. 1, 2, 3, 4. We wouldn't be able to kill anything in that row, but that's not too bad. And then we have another 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm starting to like the looks of this. So let's go ahead and do the 3. I can't kill anything here unless we get a 6 to put it there, which is probably not going to happen. So let's go ahead and do the 4 in the third column. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. We'll do the 3 other column. That gets us our 7 attack power. So 6 is the highest number on the board. So as long as we can get to 6, anything that ends up on explosion space this turn is going to get destroyed. So 3 here would be ideal, but that's going to cause a re-roll, and I need my 6 to be placed, which means I'm going to have to re-roll those dice. So yeah, 3 or a 3, I could kill either of these, but I'm not going to be able to because I've got to place the 6 if I want to get that big advancement, which we're going to do next. So can I do anything with a 4? Well, actually, I could do something with a 4, because if I put the 4, oof, we're not going to have any power gen this round. Can't use the column on the excavator movement, so we're locked out of the power gen completely. Can't place where the excavator's at. So that means, yeah, go ahead and do this. I don't see a reason not to, because we got nothing else we can really do here except for, well, I mean, I could generate 3 research. Problem is, I want to move 3 spaces and blow this up. So I can either move here, 4 minus 1 would be 3, that would get exploded. Or I can take 3 research, leave that alone, and bump me up 1 space on the track. So, which is going to be more important? Plus, I have to consider the power. I got exactly 3 power. We're going to generate none. We're going to use 3, so we'd be zeroing out our power for the round. I think would rather, I think I'd rather sweep the skies. So let's go ahead and do that move there. 1, 2, 3. Then we'll do our 6 here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That has the consequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We placed a white die, so we have to re-roll, and the only column I have left is column 1. Not going to get much done there. Ideally, we get a 3 or a 4. Either a 3 or a 4, and we can blow that one up also. 4. So we'll place that on the anti-aircraft space. -1 movement. 1, 2, 3. All right. It's a glorious day to be an Air Force jockey. So dice phase is complete. Moving to the rooms phase. These have no effect. We're going to go ahead and activate these for 7 points worth of combat power for 2 electricity. So anything on the board is going to die if it's on a space that's explosion space. So dead, 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 and dead. They go. Complete there. Why couldn't I get everybody? I haven't done a clean sweep yet. One of these days, we're going to arrange a clean sweep of every ship in the air. So finally, we'll go ahead and move our excavator forward to its new position for the cost of 1 power. We're zeroed on power, but we've wound our excavator around to almost its final position. If I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if I can get another 6 and unlock this row with the high efficiency options here, that's all I want. Getting this one would be nice if we can manage it. So if in the next 2 turns I can do that, great. But we're going to lose 2 positions next turn or this turn, so it's going to back us up to here, which is unfortunate. This would have been one of the circumstances where I might have thought about moving a fighter onto a mothership space just to avoid that. Because we're going to have to commit another die next round. We're going to get backed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 or 6 probably. So yeah, it's going to take me yet another round to get that to where I really want it. All right, so we're done here. Dice phase is complete. Rooms phase is complete. Let's go ahead and do the mothership phase. Down it goes. Unfortunately, we lose 2 positions on our excavator. And redeploy back into the launch cradles with you guys. The only other slot. All right, that's it. Mothership phase is complete. Start rolling dice again. No 6s again. Okay. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, second column, don't miss this. Got better options for research, so I don't miss that. So I think that's likely what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and drop a 5 here for our excavator movement. Second column. Next up. I don't think I'm going to try to destroy ships. I need power gen. Absolutely need power gen. So we're going there. So if we drop a 5 there, I'll get us 5 points. We don't need power gen. Well, that is a power gen later. 3, 4, 5. And I would have to next round keep it there with that and a 1 in order to blow it up. Or we commit to these 2. Try to get big numbers. But I think I'd rather just get the 5. Let's go ahead and commit to the 5 there. All right. I want to go for re-rolls on these. So I don't have any power, or I don't have any research going this round. That best and only option if I'm going to do research. High number would be better. Who do I not want? Probably the second or the middle column, the third column. So let's toss a 3 here. Not a 3. Let's toss a 1 here. That's going to prevent any movement because it's 1 minus 1. So 0 movement in the third column. And that'll force a reroll. Let's see what kind of numbers we get. Ideally, we get some better numbers. I'd like to get a 6 here. What's that going to do? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is fine. So yeah, I'd like a 6. And the other one, I don't really care. I can't use the power room, so it's just going to go into the this. So a 6 and a 1, that would be optimal. How about a 1 and a 2? Well, I can place the 1 and re-roll the 2. So let's go ahead and place the 1 here. Oh, sorry, that means 0 movement. And re-roll the 2. Hope to get my 6 for my research. Hey, look at that. Ask and ye shall receive. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good trade-off. Dice phase is complete. Moving on to the rooms phase. No effect from those during the rooms phase. Let's do our power gen of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Follow that up with 1 point expense to get our excavator moved forward again. And then we will pay 1 energy for that. 6 minus 1 for 5 research. 3, 4 points, and then we're stuck. We weren't going to get that one anyway, so that's fine. All right, I think that was a good round for us. So we kind of kept them clustered in the hopefully we'll kill them again next round. I tend to try to alternate with trying to wipe a bunch of them off the board, the leading ones being most important, of course, and then doing a bunch of advancements. So I feel like we're on pretty good track, especially with the position of our excavator. And them only being able to move it one more time. So one more good dice roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more 6, and we'll be good for 3 or 4 turns of us possibly doing triple dice research, which will cause a whole bunch of movement in the middle of the board for these fighters to hit us. So we'll have to see what we can manage to balance it. Okay, so we're all done here. Let's go ahead and advance the mothership. So, new fighter craft is generated and redeploy. So, right. We have ships in every column, so you're farthest. Yes. All right, mothership phase is complete. Let's move on to us rolling dice again. So we're hoping for one more 6 for the excavator movement. That's going to be good because if we can get that 6 into this row, that's this guy. That's about the best I could ask for is somebody new being deployed. So come on, give me a 6. There we go. We got our 6. This is a pretty good number set. Gives me some options with some re-rolls. I like it. I'm absolutely going here. All right, so that's going to get our excavator to its final destination almost. If we haven't achieved victory by the time it gets to here, I don't know. I might be willing to try to get it to skip that space to keep my excavator in the final position to keep this unlocked. We'll have to see how it plays out. If I get some really high rolls and we get like 14 points or, 13 points if I put 5, 4, 5 in there right now, or 5, 4, 4. 13 points would go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, get us to there. So it'd only take a few rounds to get us all the way to the top if we can get some high numbers in here. But we're going to have to balance it because we can't take that many hits from these fighters. All right, so we did our 6. It's not a re-roll, so what am I going to do with the rest of this? Feel like it's time to try to wipe this guy. We've got our excavator movement finalized. I am going to need at least a little more power, but the lower we get in these rooms, the more power efficient things become. So that's a big bonus. Let's see. What's our cost? So 4, 5. Most I can get is 6 out of a single room. So if I can get a 5 or a 6, actually I'd need a 6 here. -1 would be 5 to let me purchase both of these. That would commit me here. And we've already used this column, so I can't blow stuff up with that. So this one would have to be a blow stuff up space. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do the 4 on the energy space in column 1. 2, 3, 4. Then I think I'm going to do... I want to blow stuff up, but I think I'm going to go research this round. So let's do the 5 in that column. So third column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, shift over, 4, 5. And then we'll do the 4 here, and a re-roll, 2, 3, 4. Re-roll the last die, column 2, 5, 5 in column 2. I got 3 ships in column 2, and we rolled a 5. Ouch. I guess I could go more research. So we're going to generate 9 research in this room. That's going to pay 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll lose a point there. Or I can put the 5 here, pay 4, 5, then have 9, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fortunately, we'll be able to get forward that one. So doesn't matter which way I do that. So it's either research or slow movement of 3 different ships. Added a lot of movement. I think I'll take the research and the slow movement. Or the research over the slow movement. All right, so 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Now it's looking like a big ouchie. Be kind of funny if I took 7 points in a single round. All right, dice phase is complete. Let's go ahead and move on to the rooms phase. I got no anti-aircraft going on. Let's go ahead and do our 4 power gen first. That brings us up to 7. Then we'll go ahead and spend our 1 power to move our excavator to the end of the track. Then we get a lot of research. So we're going to spend 4 power. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4 on 2 different research sections. It doesn't matter which order I do them in. So we'll do 9 points. So our token goes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to there. And then we do 5 points, 2, 3, and that's where we'll stop. Okay. So we got 2 big numbers and then the final one to hit. So we've unlocked this, but man, are we about to get hammered by a lot of ships doing damage if I don't clear those guys out. I kind of fear next round. If I get bad rolls and can't manage to blow up a bunch of ships, this is going to be rough. Okay, so our rooms phase is complete. Moving on to the mothership phase, it moves down a row. There's no ability this round. There's no reinforcements to redeploy, so we're pretty much done. Let's roll the dice and see what's going to happen. I need some stuff to explode. Whole lot of exploding, please. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. 17 points I could drop into that triple research room right now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16. I could get us to there and then finish it next round with 14 combined. What would that do to all the ship movement, though? Especially because I'd have to put something here, which would guarantee 2 strikes. Guarantee 3 strikes. No, guarantee 3 strikes. We'd get hit by those 2 plus that one. And that would be it for that round. So we'd go down 3. Oof. So tempting, though. So tempting with that kind of a roll. And if I throw the 2 and the 3, I need 2 power to run it. If I throw the 2 and the 3, let's see, if we do 3 power again, just to offset what we're going to use a bit, and then have enough for next round, then it would be this moving down 3, which would not hit us this round. We get to go before they do next round. I think we can pull it off. If I just dump all 3 of those in, plus we're going to get re-rolls when I use the white die. I say we go for it. Let's go for broke. So let's plan on deploying these. We'll do the gray dice first. Is there any way I can minimize the death? So no matter what I do in column 2, we're going to get hit. So we might as well do the 6 there. 6, and we'll get to go before him next round. So yeah, let's go ahead and do the 6 in that column. So 1, 2, we take a damage. 1, 2, 3, we take a damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Next column is not going to matter. That ship's not going to make it, and nothing I can do is going to prevent that ship. So we might as well do that column. Or got to do them in the right order so I don't re-roll. So yeah, so we'll do that column. 4, 5, 6 in that column. Can't block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 3. He's got 2 ships left. I don't know, he's got 2 ships left in immediate striking range. I just got to make sure next round. See, I got to survive to the rooms phase. So if I fill, yeah, we're going to take 2 more hits. If I go high numbers, we're guaranteed 2 more. So, you know, going to be close. But we should make it, I think. Now watch, I'm going to roll 1s and 2s. I'm going to re-roll 1s and 2s. I'm going to re-roll 1s and 2s. And then we're going to die. So that's how this might go. But you know, no guts, no glory. So we got those placed. We did place a white die, so we have to re-roll. A 1 and a 4. And I could re-roll the 4, but for what benefit? I would like to use power here, and 4 is going to be enough to get me through the rounds that are going to matter. And I guess we'll do the 1 over here. So we're going to generate 17 points. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16. Need 19 points. Yeah, let's just 2, 3, 4. This column. All right, dice phase is complete. Go ahead and move on to the rooms phase. No effect. Generate 4 energy. Use 3 energy, or use 2 energy. And generate 17 points. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16. So I need 14. 14 points. That's going to require some high numbers. We might not make it. And that is enough to kill us. So, because these are guaranteed to get in, 2 damage. E, I might be able to hold off by putting a low number here. He won't get us next round. So, yeah, I think we're going to make it. It's going to be close. I pushed it pretty hard. Okay, so rooms phase is complete. Moving on to the mothership phase. Moving down, adding another white ship, and then redeploy. So we've got that column empty. And other than that, column 1 is the lowest, followed by column 2, followed by column 3. Okay, mothership phase complete. Let's roll the dice. So if we can roll 14, we should be victorious. Any combination that gets me to 14 in 3 dice. There we go, 18 to finish it. So that should give us the victory, but let's go ahead and count it out. So we got to do this. It's not going to make any difference. 1, 2, 3. We take a point of damage. Do this again. Oops, wait. Second row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ship moves down. Excuse me. Then the middle row. 2, 3, 4. We take another point of damage. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then finally 6 here. So that's the only one in the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Then we need a 1 here to prevent that guy from making it in. Oh, no, sorry. The 1 means 0 movement. No movement out of you. 1 minus 1. All right. And then the 4. Oh, we placed the 1, so we have to... Oh, wait a minute. Can't do that. I'll go. Because I placed the 6, I have to reroll. All right, 2 and 3. So we'll still go there. So 1 move, 1 move. 3 has to go over here. We'll just put it there. And that's also -1, so 1, 2 spaces. Okay, I believe we are done. Let's go ahead and do the rooms phase. These don't do anything. We spend 2 energy to generate 18 research, and 3 and 11 is 14. We're victorious! So we have saved humanity from the alien invasion. Let's go ahead and go to a final recap, talk about a few things that are in addition to the base game, the introductory game we just played, and some final thoughts. Okay, before we wrap this video up, a few more things I'd like to mention. The board state we just played is the easy mode introductory game setup that's just used really to teach the mechanics of the game. The standard game that you then start playing after you've done this first one introduces a number of interesting variables. So first off, let's talk difficulty level. This particular setup with Roswell as the starting city and this arrangement is referred to as difficulty level 0. So the threat level can be adjusted so you can have a threat or difficulty level of your own choosing. And the way they do that is each of the 4 skyboards are actually dual-sided. And all you do is you decide which threat level you'd like to play, and you flip over to the reverse side that number of boards. So if you'd like a threat level 1 game, you just randomly select one of the 4 skyboards, and I'll do this one just for this demonstration. You flip it over to its reverse side. It has kind of some alien gunk on the left-hand side in kind of a pinkish color to denote that you're on the reverse side. And you'll notice here the sky is filled with much, much more difficult terrain options. So look at all these mothership spaces that you have to deal with. So the numbers for the destruction of the enemy fighters is higher. There's a lot more spaces for the mothership to be pulled down a level compared to the flip side. And that's all you do. So you pick the difficulty level you'd like to attempt. You randomly select the sky boards. And if you want to do a difficulty 3, for example, well, let's just do them all. Let's flip all 4 and take a look at what it looks like. Reverse here. Okay. A number of different things have happened. So the skyboards in the center obviously have changed dramatically. Also, the research numbers that you need have increased. And as well as that, we also have an increase in the number and severity of the various mothership action abilities. So, tremendous amount of difficulty adjustment just by flipping over however many boards you think you can conquer. So that adds quite a bit of variability in the terrain that you're going to have to deal with, essentially, for straight up difficulty. But in addition to that, there's another section that you can change, and that is the city itself that you're defending. Roswell is unique in that it has no special abilities, no special rules involved in it. Now, Roswell has a couple of things to note. It doesn't have a starting number here next to it for purchasing your first tech. It shows the arrangement of the underground base. The A and B indicator here shows the A and B indicators for how the base is supposed to be set up. This is actually supposed to be this direction right here. So we can see the A with the point at the top and the B with the point at the bottom matches that. Were I to select a different city, and in your starter setup, before you delve into the campaign parts, you actually have 2 other cities to choose from. We have New York and we have Washington, D.C. Note that they have different research costs now for the first stage. So if you pick Washington, you've got to pay a whopping 6 points for that very first tech on the tree. They each have a special ability, and then they have a different arrangement of boards. There's actually a third underground board that goes with these 2, and you just follow the arrangement that's listed here. Now the boards have a new tile on them. You'll notice in blue, there's now an additional room. These are robot rooms, and I'm not going to get into the details of how those work, but essentially they're workers that stay on the board, and each time you use them to activate the ability of a room, the die that you use to denote their strength goes down by 1 until they're fully removed after their last use. So the game adds the 2 blue dice for the robots. So that throws in yet another wrinkle for you to deal with, in addition to the abilities of the cities, the change in the research costs, and the arrangement of the underground baseboards, which are also dual-sided. So, quite a few different changes. It's not just that static first map that you saw me play, that's the easy mode map. But between the change of the difficulty level for the skyboards, the different cities you can defend, the arrangements of the underground base, and whether you're on the front or back of those, the robot worker dice, it gets quite a bit more, I won't really say complex, because the only real complexity that's changed is the addition of the robot worker dice. But the difficulty factor absolutely changes. And by making it more difficult with the sky boards, but then a little easier with the city boards, you've got a lot of options. Now, another thing, these are also dual sided. So the blue side is the standard side that you would first attempt a challenge at. If you fail at that, you have the option of flipping these boards over to the orange side, and the powers for the cities on the reverse side, the orange side, are stronger than the other one. So it gives you a second chance to defend the city with a little bit more power on your side to see if you can overcome whatever other challenge you've set for yourself. So really cool variability in just the existing board pieces that you see, all fitting into a very small box. Offers quite a bit of interesting gameplay with a very simple mechanic system with few moving parts, but what I consider to be very interesting combinatorial difficulties that you have to consider. So you could do a mad rush like I did in our example game. I got the excavator to the end of the run as quickly as possible and then did an all-in attempt to just smash through the research that we needed in order to finish victoriously. Alternatively, I could have spent more time trying to destroy the ships to minimize the damage and gotten through a few turns later because we still had a number of turns that we had available to us. I could have gone a couple of different ways, which I like. I like that quite a bit, having different options for the player. So, there we go. That is pretty much Under Falling Skies in a nutshell. We've got everything set up or displayed and explained. We'll just start throwing this stuff all over here. Make a bit of a mess. I consider it a really excellent solo game. Just fits in really well. We played our game, even with me explaining things, and having only played a few games myself, we did our test easy mode game in about 34 minutes, I think. So with a little bit of experience, you can get this down to under 30 minutes, I think. Maybe a little longer if with the more difficult setups, possibly. And I'm unsure on the campaign mode how much changes the campaign actually introduces, whether there's special rules or circumstances or so on. If you guys enjoy the video, enjoy the gameplay, and would like to see me play through the campaign, I'd be more than happy to do so. I do enjoy the game quite a bit. So let me know what you think. But I think with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for Under Falling Skies. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Your feedback is going to be critical for this type of gameplay going forward. This will be the first video I put up on my tabletop focused channel. So hit me with it. Let me know what you think. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. I need all the feedback I can get so we can make some adjustments. First time with me doing this kind of a setup and this kind of a recording. So I appreciate any kind of wisdom you'd like to toss my way. Look forward to future content with other board games of different styles. This is just one style I wanted to attempt with kind of a how-to playthrough where I explain both the rules and play the game. We're going to be trying some experiments with some other types where I just have a game out and play it, and I'm not going to talk about the rules ahead of time. I'll just play the game and just kind of conversationally talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how the game works. We'll try some of that. We'll try some digitized computer version of games where I just load in and start playing. All sorts of things. So if you have a personal preference for the format of what I'm going to be doing on the channel, that's also something I would love to know. But for now, let's go ahead and sign out. Thank you very much for your time, your attention, and your feedback. Have a great day, everyone.